Hey there, creepy peeps. Welcome to my channel. If you are new here, welcome back. If you are returning, as it is March now, it is time to go over everything that I read in February, which is 5 books, to be exact. You guys seem to really enjoy this format this time, going over everything I read instead of just doing a single book review. But like last time, I'm going to be starting with the Creepy Book Club pick, which was The Changeling by Victor LaValle. If you don't know, really quick, because I feel like I have to plug it every time, I do have a Creepy Book Club. We're on Goodreads. The link is always in the description. We read one horror book per month, discuss it, and I review it here in a video, and I'll share with you some of the other Creepy Book Club members' reviews of this. Also, like I am wont to do every time, I'm just gonna read the summary off the back because I'm horrible at summarizing things. When Apollo Kagua's father disappeared, he left his son with a box of books and strange recurring dreams. Now Apollo is a father himself, and as he and his wife Emma settle into their new lives as parents, exhaustion and anxiety start to take their toll. Apollo's old dreams return and Emma begins acting odd. At first, Emma seems to be exhibiting signs of postpartum depression, but before Apollo can do anything to help, Emma commits a horrific act and vanishes. Thus begins Apollo's quest to find a wife and child who are nothing like he imagined. His odyssey takes him to a forgotten island, a graveyard full of secrets, a forest where immigrant legends still live, and finally back to a place he thought he had lost forever. How to describe my feelings for this book. I loved this. I thought that this was one of the best books we've read in Creepy Book Club so far. It just artfully and perfectly combines like the modern world and folklore and myth, and I love that. This book is divided into 8 parts, and with each part, it reads, I just gotta say, it reads super fast, but you learn so much about the characters, even though it's only been a few pages, and I think that's just a testament to LaValle's writing. Each part peels back a layer to this story, just revealing something that you didn't know. So it's like you think you have a handle on what's going on, and then you get to the next part in the book and you realize you were completely wrong. You're truly following Apollo's footsteps in this, where you think a certain way about Emma when she commits this horrific act, and let me tell you, it is horrifying to read, even as somebody who isn't a parent. And as each layer gets peeled back, we realize how wrong we were about Emma, and so many people in the book club mentioned that in their end review. I loved it. I thought the writing was fantastic. Like I said, it's super descriptive, but not lengthy, and like, I don't know, he's just able to give you so much about the character. Like, you learn so much about the character while other stuff is happening, so you don't need a whole bunch of like lengthy paragraphs describing everything before the action takes place. It's almost weird because like in movies you're supposed to show rather than tell, so you show this character development while they're doing other things that kind of move the plot along. I feel like this is like the book version of that, which is weird because you're reading it and not seeing it, but I don't know. I thought it was fantastic. It's a 5 out of 5 read from me. But now let me read the reviews from the other Creepy Book Club members and see what they thought about this. Amy said, I just finished the book and loved it. I really enjoyed how the author tied in all the fairy tales and how important that became in the book. I have a soft spot for old school fairy tales, and all the tales made the book for me. After getting towards the end of the book, I found myself feeling bad for doubting Emma like Apollo had done. I just gotten the ebook version of this one, but I want to pick up the actual paper version now for my collection. Totally agree. We're very much, like I said, we're very much in Apollo's shoes, where we feel a certain way about Emma, and then as the book goes on, you feel bad for doubting her because you then get to understand like why she did what she did. And yeah, it takes you for a ride. Nikki said she agreed with Amy. I thought she was a monster, but she really was a tormented mother who was alone in this. I really enjoyed this book. It had me hooked, and I didn't want to put it down. Just when you think you have an idea of what's going on, something else happens. And you would think that would get annoying, but it's such a complicated issue what Emma does that it would almost feel like a disservice to just throw it away as like she was crazy and it was postpartum depression. So the depth and the layers of the book really make sense and then really make you feel satisfied by the end that the story is complete and then you have a full understanding of what happened. Natalie said, this was such a wonderful tale. Like Amy, I read this as an ebook and now need it for my shelves. This is certainly not going to be the only Victor LaValle I read. Me neither, Natalie. Sean, Nocturnal Horrors, I'll link his channel in the description, said, I'm with everyone else. This was such a great read. LaValle did a wonderful job planting so many mysteries that needed some sort of conclusion. I love the folklore aspects of this novel and how Emma and Apollo had to literally live a folktale. The ending is such a folktale, from getting the troll out of the cave, Brian being eaten, and then Apollo cutting the troll's body open and plunging hands into his stomach to retrieve their son. That is a folktale at its finest, and that ending would not have worked if the setup wasn't perfect. But did Emma really need to hit Apollo with a hammer her way back? Ouch. Would you all be interested in a sequel where Brian is older and has these dreams about trolls and caves like Apollo had his dreams? Not sure who the antagonist would be. Maybe I just love the characters and want to see how Brian grows up. Will he forget? Will he keep some weird troll traits? Will he be psychologically damaged? An amazing read. Can't wait to read more of LaValle. And then he added, also covering the camera on my laptop ASAP and refraining from Facebooking pictures of my kid excessively. Yeah, there's a whole layer going on with a character who is an expert hacker and is able to infiltrate Apollo's life because Apollo is a new dad and posts all these pictures of baby Brian. Yeah, it really makes you think twice about your social media use. It really does. I mean, I feel like a sequel would be interesting, but I feel like the book is also perfect as is. And I think they mention in the book somewhere, I don't know that I marked that page, but they mention somewhere as they're talking about stories that Happily Ever After is kind of, it's almost just like a throwaway. It's never like the complete end of the story because you always want to know more. It's more just like a throwaway to get kids to stop asking so many questions, like Sean was saying, like what happens to Brian? Does he still have these dreams? How did, you know, does he remember what happened to him? All this stuff you want to know because the characters and the story were just set up so well. I think that's just another testament to LaValle's writing on that one. Next book I read, just really quick, is Origin, Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is like number 4 of the Lux series, which was the one I said I was going to finish. In my last video, I talked about another book that Armentrout had written. I'm just going to finish the Lux series and give old Armentrout a break for a little bit. I read a couple of her other books from other series, and like I mentioned, some of her characters are just extremely similar, which, you know, whatever, girl, do you. Like, you wrote a book, I've never written a book, so. But this is a really good series if you want to read something like YA paranormal romance. That's, I wouldn't say it's like the best in terms of like, you know, like, I don't know, in terms of like the relationship and stuff like that between the two main like love interests. It's not the best thing I've ever read. It's not horrible. It's just, you know, it's par for the course. Although I do like the depth of like the government like cover up conspiracy sort of thing going on, because this is like an alien species, which is kind of interesting in and of itself, because mostly you get like werewolves, vampires, that sort of thing. You don't really get aliens. So I like the alien aspect. I like the depth of like the government cover up, the American government specifically. I feel like this is something, the stuff that happens in this book could be totally real. So I do like that. So if you're looking for like an interesting YA paranormal romance that reads fairly quickly, I would suggest the Lux series. This one I think I gave a 3 out of 5 on Goodreads. I can't remember. Next thing I read is There Will Come a Darkness by Katie Rose Poole. This is a YA like fantasy adventure series. So it follows this world. I'll show you. I love a book with a whole map and everything in the in the front cover so I can get my bearings. But basically it's like this, I would like, if it's obviously a fictional world, I would say it's very like Middle Eastern, Egyptian-ish kind of type setting, you know what I mean? same with the characters. Basically, there are humans and there are people that have graces. There's grace of sight, grace of mind, grace of blood, and grace of heart. And there are, of course, people in the world that don't think other people should have powers over humans. And that's the best way I can describe it quickly. I gotta say, I love the fantasy aspect of this. It's super unique and not like anything I've read before. The biggest problem I had with this was that there were just so many characters. So you have like, there are 5 main people up here at the front, and they all get chapters from their point of view. Like, it bounces back and forth between all 5 of them, and I just feel like it took a very long time to set up all of them, because they're all in like different places and they all have to like get to the point where they all come together to fight these people that want to stop the people with the graces, and it's just a whole big thing. And I just feel like it took a really long time to actually get anything happening, because she had to set up so much with all of these characters. So I just feel like there was one too many characters going on. I would have liked it if it, you know, scaled it back a little bit. I just feel like this whole book was a setup for a sequel, and I'm not really down for that, because it's like, I don't want to sit and read a whole book where I feel like barely anything happens and then I have to wait for a second book to get a lot of action and conflict. Not to say there wasn't any action and conflict, it just like all takes place in like this last portion of the book here. So yeah, I'm not about that. It doesn't make me want to read the second one anymore. Like, not that it was horrible, but it's like, now I'm worried, because like, if I read another book, if I pick up the second one, am I gonna have to wait until the very end here to get any action also? So I had to give this one a 2 out of 5. Next thing I read was Call Down the Hawk by Maggie Steve Otter. I just talked about her in my Women in Horror Month recommendation thing. I talked about The Scorpio Races, written by the same author. This is a spin-off series from the Raven cycle, which I have the first one, Raven Boys, the Raven cycle series. I started to read this, and I think I was still in like high school when I started to read that, and I just really couldn't read anything. Like, I had too much to read for school and other stuff going on, so I only read like the first couple of pages of that and never picked it up again. And then this came out and I bought it because it was Maggie Steve Otter, and I honestly thought it was another series, and then I realized it was a spin-off of this one. Not that that was a bad thing, it just makes me want to go for the Raven cycle again. There's 4 books in that series, so I think in between this book and the next book coming out, I'm gonna try and marathon the 4 Raven cycle books and try those again, because yeah, I just didn't have time to read them. This is a spin-off of that. If you've read the Raven cycle, it follows Ronan Lynch and the Lynch brothers, essentially. And it's kind of hard to describe. Ronan is a dreamer, and dreamers in this fictional world can pull stuff from their dreams and create stuff from their dreams. And there is, of course, a government, I don't know if it's technically government run, but a group that wants to stop these dreamers, because there are prophecies that there is a dreamer that's going to bring about the apocalypse. So they're going out killing all of the dreamers, and yeah, it's good. It's hard for me. It's hard to describe because this is such like a fantastical world. It was good. It just makes me really want to get back and read the Raven cycle. I don't think that you need to read it necessarily to get this. There just are references to other characters that are from the Raven cycle. I know that. I just know that they're in the Raven cycle, so you just might not understand fully who they are, and that's fine. Yeah, I don't think you need to read the Raven cycle to read this. It probably just helps. But I'm definitely going to go back and read it. I also half listened to this. I listened to it on Hoopla, which is, I think, just if you're in the United States, which I'm sorry, but it's based on your library. So you're renting audiobooks. And Will Patton actually read this, which was pretty cool, actually. So highly recommend listening to it too. It's free. Definitely check out Hoopla if you're in the US. Free audiobooks. They don't have everything, but they have a lot. I mean, this is a new release, so. And the last thing I want to talk about, hopefully before my battery dies, is a manga that I read, which is Uzumaki by Junji Ito. This was actually a request, a patron request from Miko. I'll leave her channel Muddy Cult Madhouse in the description. I don't normally take book recommendations. I don't have a rule against it, but this was a manga, so it's a little bit easier to read. And I know Junji Ito is a popular like horror manga writer slash artist. So yeah, so basically this follows a town that is cursed. Cursed by what, you might ask? Spirals. I know that sounds weird. And it is a little weird, but it's actually really good and really interesting. It's so hard to describe, but it's just so interesting. It's not something that you would think would be scary, but it basically follows one character, one girl who, it's kind of just like chapters of like different scary things happening for a while. And then once you get towards the end, it's more about trying to escape the town and escape the spiral, and I won't tell you what happens because you should just read it. But the art is fantastic. There are parts in this that are just like, you turn to a page and it's just like horrifyingly detailed. It's actually probably better if you're looking at it far away. You can see the faces. It's so fucking scary looking. This is pretty fucking scary. I've seen images before from this and I didn't realize like this is one that as soon as I turned to that page, I was like, oh, I recognize that. I just didn't realize what it was from, but it's, yeah, so intricate and horrifying at the same time. Yeah, this was a 5 out of 5 for me. I definitely want to read more. We have a few other of his books at work, like Gyo, I think is one of them, and Shiver, and a few others. I think there's a Frankenstein one too, which, so Miko, if you're watching and you have other recommendations for me from Junji Ito, please let me know because, yeah, this was fan-fucking-tastic and I highly recommend you picking it up. Okay, so that's everything I read in February. Please let me know in the comments if you've read any of these, what you thought about them, and what you've been reading this past month, because not that I need more stuff on my TBR, but you know, we can make it fit. I also want to thank my creepy patron peeps really quick for their support of my channel. Thank you guys so much. If you want to find out the perks to being a creepy patron peep yourself, you can follow that link in the description. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new here. If you're lurking, become a creepy peep today. I post videos Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and you can ring that notification bell down there to maybe be notified every time I post a video. Who knows if it actually works. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, stay strange. Bye!